Herman, that was fantastic, absolutely wonderful to see the
you
humanist.
think I deserve that?
I think you did, yes. There'll probably be another clap later. I think that's what's so fascinating about your work, is that it's all about people, it's all about the person. The architecture is also beautiful. But I'm interested in influences. I mean, from your early days when you were a child, I believe that your dad, who was a doctor, used to bring you around in the car and park you outside whilst he went to see patients, and you got to see lots of buildings.
Yeah, he was not afraid of people. Yeah. And architects are always afraid of people.
Why?
Well, you ask me, but I learned from my father, from my dad, as you say, that he just, when there was a very frightening person in the street, somebody who was shouting all the time, and we as children, we went away because we thought he was a monster. And then my father came outside and said, "Where is that man?" He said, no, don't go there because he'll kill you." And then my father went out, and I thought he never would come back. He would be killed by that person. But after something like half an hour, we saw them discussing. And they found out that even that monstrous person turned out to be just a normal person. But he had some sort of aberration, but that was it. And maybe, I can't tell you, this was important. I remember also that we went to the station and that we got tickets, and then there was the sort of ticket control at that time. The platforms were not public. That he was going to talk with the man who gave him the ticket, and I said, "Oh, please." But he was just going to talk, and found out that he was born in the same town as he. And I mean, my wife is doing the same. Nobody is safe for her when she finds somebody in the street or wherever. She starts talking, and you find out about her life. Maybe this is what it did. Most architects are just afraid of people.
I think this is true to a lot of architects, and sometimes they don't have the communication skills. I think it's something that it's hard to learn. But I was going to go back.
But you don't need to communicate with the people in the street. I mean, my wife does, and my father did. But observation does a lot. I mean, as long as you see what. I mean, I hate that word daily life. I mean, daily life.
But we know what you mean by it.
But you know what I mean. Is just a lot of observation, listening, seeing what is going on. And I find out that too many architects have no idea what people are, and they consider them sort of mostly dangerous animals. You know, they have to cope with it.
I believe now one of your first jobs in one of your Montessori schools might have come via going in there and talking to some children. So how did you get your first Montessori school? Tell us the story.
Oh, you know it already.
I know it, but they don't know it.
No, my wife, I tell a completely different story because she's lying. Anyway, no, but I was engaged, so to say, with a school teacher, and they needed a new school, and they thought maybe that intruder is okay to make that school. So.
But it was nice because you were engaged. You used to do sketches on the board and stuff, didn't you? And
yes, not as much as she pretends, but I did that. Yes. Yeah. But it is a misunderstanding that you have to talk with people all the time. I mean, this is sort of populistic idea, which is not. it is mainly observation and interest. Huh? I mean, you must have interest. You must think that that's my material.
But also, I think it's the way that you plan for the individual, not necessarily like a big classroom full of people. It's the individual or little groups of people, and it's how you actually design the spaces around that. Was that always easy for you to do?
Easy, never has been easy. But yeah, it's what you do. Mm. And I said it before. People are too much. I mean, then first they are neglected by architects, but second, when they are not neglected, they are always considered as individuals, and not enough as togetherness. You know, it's really a pity that we are not up to build churches anymore, because the idea of making churches, I mean, I know there's a problem with the religion, but the idea, maybe, I mean, this is just madness, but maybe it is not the space that was built for the religion, but it is maybe the other way around, that by making spaces to be together, the idea of religion was born, because it's always people together. It's always what you share.
And that's what's so important, the whole sharing thing.
Yeah.
Sharing is so important, and I think sometimes in other countries, or maybe even in the UK, sharing isn't necessarily the first thing that comes into people's minds, and whether it be in work or in school or in their homes. I mean, is this a Dutch thing? Is it like your co-housing or something like that, where you want to get together and share spaces like the Danes do?
I don't think it's Dutch. For instance, in the United States, you have what we're talking about is about social structure. And we have not so much, not such a strong social structure in Holland. But for instance, I don't know so much about the United Kingdom, but in the United States, people forget too often that they have fantastic social structures. They have in every small village, they have the church as a center, and everybody is part of it. And we think it's ridiculous how they see their religion, but it gives a fantastic social structure, and we are completely away from that. The only thing you could say of the Dutch is that they had to make dikes, and they have to control the water level, which also is a sort of common thing, which makes you dependent of each other. You know?
But when you have new clients and or they come to you and say, Herman, I really want you to do something that's...
Doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask, because you were saying competitions.
It's all competitions.
Competitions. How hard is it for you to work on all of these competitions? How do you choose your competitions?
How do we choose a competition? Well, we have this man for us to choose the competitions. Well, we try to get as many as possible, because the outcome is just a very small percentage of what you start. Mm-hmm. Hmm?
Now, when you're teaching...
But for me, all assignments are okay. People keep asking me, what sort of buildings would you still like on your age, would you still like to make? I don't know. I have not a special desire to make a museum or a library or such a thing. Every assignment, every task, job, is a job, has to do with important things.
I like the way you...
As long as it's not for chickens, but for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the way you talk about the importance that we reuse the buildings that we have, rather than knock them down or try and build iconic buildings. It must really grate with you when you see people kind of building iconic buildings for the sake of shape on the outside, if you know what I mean. How important is it for you, the iconic building or the ordinary building, the grain building? How important is it you to do one or the other?
For me, the iconic is completely unimportant. I mean, iconic, it's not you who decides whether a building will be iconic or not. It's not you who is to decide whether a building is beautiful or not. I mean, this is what society, after all, might do, might decide.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you show that very much in your work, that the iconic is not necessarily in the actual building shape or form itself. For me, looking at your work, I think it is the way that you design your buildings for people from the inside, the function of them. And I think that is the great beauty of them. Now, when you were teaching, you've taught for many years and inspired many students. Have you learned stuff from your students that you've been able to use in your practice? Do you find that they listen to you? Do they argue with you very, very much? Do they question you? Tell me a bit about your teaching.
Well, I think you cannot be a good teacher when you are not learning from your students, because then you are just telling your students what they should do, and that's not a good teacher. I mean, you have today you have Google for that, you know. To tell your students what they should do is just a job for bad teachers. Good teachers are going to talk with the students and find out about themselves. And the fact that you have to explain to students what you want to say is, of course, you are taught yourself.
So in your lessons in architecture, you say education should make the student hungry and not fill them full of facts. Is that your philosophy?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Do you think do you believe that all buildings should be capable of change in the way that cities change? And I know you did touch on that.
Not all old buildings are capable of change. I mean, this is the point. Some buildings are and other buildings are not, you know. I mean, I wonder what you could do with the Maxi Museum of Zaha Hadid and Patrick Schumacher after some years when they want something else. I mean, it's what it is, and you can't change that anymore, you know. So, am I right? Yeah, and so I think there are too many buildings that are so specifically made for the purpose that you can't do anything with it anymore. So we must try to get rid of the specificity of buildings. That's what I say in terms of generic but not dull.
Yeah. Have any of the buildings that you've designed been used differently because you like the end user to adapt and do it and take it over themselves?
Almost all buildings, as far as they are not torn down, they are now used in a different way. So also my age works as an advantage, because this is a long period that they can see what happened with all this building. I mean, young people think that buildings will be what they think they are, and when you are more of age, you find out that society and culture are just moving.
And did you always kind of feel, you were talking about the steps that you learn from Wilbur and you go on and you have another project and you kind of take a step again. Did you ever have kind of a feeling that you were going in the wrong direction, that, you know...
No, you shouldn't have that feeling, but sometimes you think I should have done better. I made terrible mistakes, and I'm constantly in my dreams I see what I have done mistaken, but I don't know. Going in the wrong direction, you don't see it yourself. You need your partners and the people around you to tell you that you are going in the wrong direction, but they don't dare to say that.
I have to ask you about the materials that you use in buildings. I have to ask you the question about brick, because there's not an awful lot of brick in your buildings, and you're a Dutchman. Am I allowed to ask you about why you don't use much brick? There's a lot of block work, for example.
Because to use bricks is too difficult.
I don't believe that for a moment.
It's just too difficult. I mean, most of the brick buildings, except for these brick buildings of the gold medalists, previous gold medalists, are just not good. It's almost impossible to make a good building with bricks. I mean, Le Corbusier did that in his Maison Jaoul. Alto did it, and well, who else? It's a terrible material. It's really... I mean, the terrible is because it's so obvious that bricks last longer, they're cheap, they have everything that you need. I hate it.
I'm sure we're going to have a few questions from the floor. But just before I throw to the floor, we have got a few students here as well. We're going to be doing some student crits tomorrow as part of, you know, the... Yeah. Looking forward to it. So you, lucky people who are having their projects critted, it's the winning the best of the student pick for this year.
I'm going to see the best.
You are going to see the best. And you're going to be very critical, I'm sure, in lots of different ways. But what advice would you give students of today? I mean, our students of today, what would your key message be to them? What they need to learn?
Well, when you still want to become an architect, and I think it's very nice to be an architect, don't think of building more office buildings that become empty, but try to direct your creativity in the direction of how to remake existing buildings in such a way that you keep the character of the existing building as long as the building had a character. I mean, there are also a lot of buildings that have no character. Then you may be able to add another character. I don't know. No, I don't think you can do that by putting some color on it or so. It's terrible. It's terrible. But try to find the character of the existing buildings and try to reinforce that and do something with it. I mean, there are fantastic examples already, and we need the younger generation for this creativity, what to do with old buildings, giving new life to old buildings, and maybe make some extensions to it, which then underline the idea of the durability. Can I say durability?
You can indeed.
Of that building.
Yeah.
And of course, the whole idea of sustainability is very important. But don't look for green buildings. That's absurd. It's nothing. Green buildings you can put in your pictures. You can put as much green as you want, but you must realize that you need very friendly and industrious ladies to give water to all these plants.
Okay.
And they will not grow just themselves, you know. So putting plants, putting green in your buildings means that you need industrious ladies
Okay.
to give them water.
Okay, or men maybe. Right, and we've got a couple of floating mics here. I'm sure there's lots of interesting questions.
Hi, Santa Raymond, and great to have you back here, and great to hear what you had to say. You talked about influences.
About?
Influences. When you were young, about Corb influencing you.
Influences.
Or influences, yes?
If you were young again now, who would you like to be taught by? Who would you like to be involved with? Who would you like to influence you?
It's always these questions of the one hero and the one icon which is supposed to show you the way. I mean, my influences are from everywhere and from anywhere, and not from one person. And I mean, I don't want to talk to Le Corbusier because he wouldn't listen. He wouldn't listen to me. I think you could ask for his signature, and that's all you could do. But it's not just to ask somebody the recipe of how do you do that. It's a sort of constant to use an expression of Le Corbusier, a constant search, you know. And he said it differently, which makes you what you are, you know. But thank you for the question.
Yeah, thank you. We've got a lady at the back there.
Hello, my name's Katherine McNeil. I was interested in the comment that you made about architects.
Where is she?
She's back corner. Stand up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hello. Thanks for a really just delightful talk. It was great. Thank you. My question relates back to architects being fearful of people, and it's certainly something that I've gone through sort of recently in the last few years.
I can't hear.
Could you speak up a tiny bit there, Katherine?
Sure. I'm just wondering how you might suggest that we progress with maybe persuading developers and clients as well not to be so fearful of people too, because it's quite a challenge.
You mean how to be less, how to have less fear for people? Is that what you?
Yes, for developers and clients.
I mean, this is a psychological thing, you know, which was maybe started in your early childhood, and I don't know. Maybe in architectural education, we could do something about it, you know, send people out in the street and ask them to make contact with people and to observe and to, like biologists are doing, they are looking at chickens and other birds and write down, now he's turning right, now he's picking another time, and they're going for hours like that. Maybe this works, I don't know. But how can you form the eyes and the ears of people? This is the question. And we are all in a society where everything is too distant. I don't know whether this is English, but it's too distant, too far from each other, and the whole point is how to be able to see each other, huh? And to see what others are doing and being interested in it. And as long as we are, our main idea is to make icons, you're far away of it. But I'm not a priest, sorry. I'm now like a priest, and I don't want to be that.
It's given a few ideas. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
A few over there. Can we start with the first guy here and then move back?
Paul Hinkin, Black Architecture. Your architecture is intensely humane.
What do you mean with intensely humane?
It's
I mean, the whole word humane should disappear from the
What word
from
would
the,
you like
from
me
the
to
earth.
use then?